Hey everybody, Movie Mackel here. Just doing another movie review video. I've been very consistent lately after announcing my retirement. But it's not gonna last. It's not gonna fucking last. It's gonna fucking end just like every time. I'm gonna abandon you without thinking about it for a second, and then I'll be gone for another 9 fucking months. And yeah, you can make fun of me when I come back. Poor Things. Poor Things is a movie that I would consider to be perfect. I think anything about it that makes me a little uncomfortable or I'm a little unsure about is more so nuance. Like the movie isn't telling me how to feel about this. So I can't really like register that as a problem. Like there's some characters in this movie that I think have some pretty notable flaws that aren't necessarily painted as evil by the film. But I don't think that's the film saying that they're good people. I think that's the film saying, here's who they are as people. Feel about them the way you want to feel about them. Obviously, there are some that are like pretty awful, like Mark Ruffalo's character. Um, but then there's others where it's more of a gray area, like William Dafoe, for example. Even though I would say his character has a lot of heart to him in this. Best looking movie I've ever seen. I'm not exaggerating. I'm trying to think of anything that compares to it. And I'm sure that there's some that would kind of be close to it that I just haven't seen yet. But in terms of everything, everything's pieced together with it so well. Fucking set design is beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful. The effects work is amazing. One, just with the more notable effects they do, like combining different animals together. Like, there's a duck dog in this. There's a pig that has a chicken's body. Like, it's done so well that it doesn't even look like an effect. But obviously it is. But it's done so fucking unbelievably well. But on top of that, that's not the only thing with the special effects because there's so many. Every single scene just feels like there's so much going on, both practically and special effects wise. The skies in this movie are amazing. The colors in this film are amazing. Um, Even parts of it where it does almost start to look a little bit like fictionalized, like you can tell it's not a real set. This almost looks like a page out of a storybook. It's still like framed in a way where it looks lovely. Now this director, Yorgos Lanthimos, he's a director that I've seen most of his work. Dogtooth is the only movie of his I haven't seen. I believe that's his first one. The Lobster, I love it. I think it's hilarious. I think that the commentary is on point. Killing of a Sacred Deer, I don't hate it. I just didn't really understand it by the end of it, where The Lobster, despite being kind of weird, I felt like I understood what it was going for. If Killing the Sacred Deer, I'd like to give it a rewatch eventually. That one didn't resonate with me nearly as well. The Favorite's another one that didn't resonate with me very well. It's like Victorian period that I just like. I'm just not into movies like that. I have a friend who watched it and said that he liked it despite not being into movies like that. But for me personally, I appreciate so much about it. I appreciate the performances. I appreciate the sense of humor. I appreciate the sets. I appreciate the costume design. It just wasn't clicking with me the way I wanted it to. And it was still probably one of my favorite movies from that year, just because I wasn't that impressed with what was released that year, honestly. Even as someone who seeks out movies and doesn't just watch whatever is like, in theaters locally or what's like, being really pushed by marketing. I am someone who tries to seek out movies. I think anyone who says that there's no good movies coming out anymore are people who aren't paying attention at all. But that was a rough year. That was a rough year. I think that was 2018. Or, yeah, I think that was 2018. It was followed by 2019, one of the best years for movies in recent years, although 2023 was looking like a pretty damn good year, too. 2022 was a good year. That was where we got everything everywhere all at once. Good movies are consistently coming out. Don't forget that. You just gotta look for them sometimes. It's not always the major studios putting them out. Back to topic, Poor Things. I think that it is just a breathtaking to look at. I love the score. I love how unsettling the score is, where they just have like certain notes off during it. Sometimes in a very subtle way where it's just kind of off-putting, but not explicitly. And then there's others where it's just like, what the fuck am I listening to? I was watching the movie while my cousin who's staying with us was getting ready for work. And I was just like, I just shouted in the other room, this is great music to get ready to, isn't it? And yeah, I told them about it and then they watched it the fucking next night. So yeah, this one's grabbing people's attentions. Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. It's so for my only 10 out of 10 for 2023. Spider-Verse might jump up to a 10 out of 10. I've got to rewatch it. I just can't think of a single thing I dislike about this. I've heard arguments against it where I can kind of see where they're coming from. I have I talked to movies with someone who said that they didn't think that the feminist message was done very well, and I can't personally tell them that they're wrong for feeling that way. I don't know if it's like it's not really the main point of the movie. I think that it's handled fine from my take on it, from my experience with it. But I could see, with it being a movie that's main, like a lot of it's focused on sex, maybe I could see how someone would get into that, thinking that it's not really appropriate, or it's not really like as as strong as a feminist message as it's trying to as it thinks it has. But I think they did it well. I think it all comes down to Emma Stone's character, how well she's written, and how much she grows over the course of the film, and how she is kind of a sex addict for a lot of it, but then she starts to see how unpleasant it can be, and she starts to learn from older people who don't even need it anymore. It's not something that brings them any satisfaction anymore. And I think that seeing that, and also seeing her grow, not through her physical appearance but through her voice, just her speech, I think it's fascinating. I think it actually pulls off what it was going for really well. But I can argue with someone who says that they didn't see that, because it's a very weird movie. That's another thing. Although despite that, I would say out of all of Yorgos's movies, I think it's the most accessible I've seen so far. It's one of the weirdest. It definitely takes like somehow manages to boost the weirdness up, but also make it an easier to follow story. Because The Lobster and Sacred of a Killing Deer often feel like they're going off of like a very fictionalized version of the world, where this one is doing that too, but it's more so just in the case with like science is different. Different things scientifically are possible than what we have in our world, especially in a an older time period, because it's almost like a period piece in some parts of the movie. Um, so I thought that. So yeah, I think that it's like weirder but also more accessible. It's like it's somehow weirder and less weird than his other movies. It's weird in different ways, and I think they found a way that makes it easier to follow. I think people who thought that, if you're someone who thought The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer were pretentious, give this one a watch. Still, I think it's still worth it. Yeah, I think he is jumping out of his comfort zone a little bit, or he's changing up. It's a very different type of movie from what I've seen him do in the past. It still feels very much like his style, but it feels like he is going for something a lot less abstract this time around. Amazing performances. Emma Stone, probably my favorite of the year. I think William Dafoe should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor over Mark Ruffalo. I even sent like a message to my group chat while watching saying, how the fuck did Mark Ruffalo get nominated? As I watched through it and as I saw his anger grow in the character, I gotta say it's one of the better Mark Ruffalo performances I've seen. It might be the best one. I'm trying to think of something he's been in that where I liked him more than I liked him in this. And I'm drawing a blank, honestly. So this might be the best performance I've seen from him. I think Mark Ruffalo's always been a fine actor. He's never one that's like wowed me to where I think he's not like an Oscar winner. But I'll take back what I said a little bit. I still think William Dafoe was better as a supporting actor. But Mark Ruffalo definitely did a good job. I would not be upset if he won. His character is very one note. I think that's my issue with William Dafoe. I feel like the character has more range to it, but I think Mark Ruffalo works within what his character is really well. He delivers some like really angry scenes with like very comedic dialogue. He's a piece of shit. You're supposed to hate him, but he is very funny. He's very funny to watch. I think my aside note I would want to make for a character that I would have been okay to see get nominated for Best Supporting Actor would be whoever played Harry. I don't remember the actor's name. I've seen him around. I just don't remember his name right off the top of my head. He was fucking hilarious. His scenes were, he's like the most negative character in the movie, yet he's probably one of the more likable male characters in this. And his delivery on the line when like Mark Ruffalo is trying to murder that woman on the boat, and he's like trying to stop him, and then she's like laughing about it, says, okay, I didn't realize you want to be murdered, go right ahead, don't let me stop you. That's paraphrase, and that he delivered that so I fucking laughed my ass off. That and Emma Stone saying I must go punch that baby. Those two lines. There's a lot of funny lines in that movie, but those two like probably got my hardest laughs of the year. And that's right after watching American Fiction, which I was laughing my ass off during too. Really funny Best Picture nominees this year. The Holdovers was not one that I fell in love with like a lot of other people did, but I still got a good amount of laughs from that one. It was a very funny movie. Which I guess it's a good transition. Yeah, Poor Things is a 10 out of 10. I hope it wins. Favorite movie of the year, one of my favorite movies of all time. Give or take. I'm not ready to put in a top 10. I need to watch it again, but I'm comfortable giving it a 10. I'm very comfortable giving it a 10. And I'm not like the harshest film talker online. It's easier to get a 10 out of 10 from me than it is from like someone like, I don't know, like your movie sucks, but I don't give them out too frequently. I want it to be special when I give a movie a 10, so that's just how I work. Poor Things is a 10. It is the highest recommendation I can possibly give. I think it did everything right. I don't have a single problem with it. Absolutely loved it. Loved the music, loved the editing, loved the effects. I don't even know if it's up for a special effects award, but goddamn, it deserves it. I think the score deserves an award. Don't think it's up for that either. Maybe I'm wrong. Score is very unique. Just did so much right. Had a great script. Had a original idea. Oh my god, I'm not going to spoil that. Just like within the first 20 minutes, when you realize what happened to Emma Stone's character, very unique. I've never seen someone do that before, and it was just very original story. And it has elements of other stories, like it is a mad scientist bringing a woman back to life. So that's obviously been done before, but there's like aspects of the story that really help it stand out. I just think it was flawless. I loved it. Um, don't watch it with your parents. Anyway, moving on. The Holdovers. It seems like the world fell in love with this one. This one almost feels like this and Barbie might be the two Mr. Populars this year. Or Mrs. Popular for Barbie. Oppenheimer was a little bit popular too, especially with the pair up of Barbie Barbenheimer. But I've also heard a lot more flack against that movie than I've heard for the Holdover. I mean, I think Holdovers is less popular than those two, but it just hasn't received the shit that those two have. Because yeah, I guess Barbie got some shit too from certain groups of people. But I gotta say, despite how much people love it, I think that what really holds it back for me is just the story is so similar to what I've seen other movies do. Like it's just there wasn't. There's even points near the end with like one of our main characters when you learn a little bit about his family life a bit better. It feels like that's kind of where it's like really trying to tug on your heartstrings, and it's effective because it's acted well and it's written well. But it's just I felt like every scene in this movie was something I've seen somewhere else before. And the thing that really separated it from other movies, those other movies I'm thinking about, is just the great performances. Because I would say the performances are one of a kind. I wouldn't say anything else about it was one of a kind. And that's not, for some people, that's not going to matter at all. For some people, even for me, because I still enjoyed watching it, um, for some people, this is going to be their ideal movie this year. This is going to be the one that they like the most. This is going to be like something that's heartwarming, but also sad, but also funny. Has some really good performances, has some really good dialogue. It does it all well. I like it when a movie can kind of have its own identity with it. And I feel like the Holdovers, to me, I don't see that. I just kind of see where it's taken inspiration from. But there's people who do that. They only take inspiration without bringing anything new to the table, and they do it poorly. And I think that's the main thing I want to talk about the Holdovers is it does it very well. It has very nice shots, very nice colors, a solid script. Not one of the best of the year. I don't know if it's up for a screenplay award. I don't think it should be. But a solid script and great again performance wise. Awesome. If you want to give Paul Giamatti Best Actor, go for it. If you want to give whoever played the woman who lost her son in this movie, I'm forgetting a lot of names here. If you want to give her the Best Supporting Actress, absolutely, I'd be very happy with that. Best Picture, it's not going to be Green Book or Nomadland bad, but it's still not a very good pick in my opinion. And I don't think it deserves Best Directed. I don't think it deserves Best Screenplay. But it was enjoyable. It's an enjoyable movie, and if that's all you're looking for, and you don't want to watch like an art house movie like Poor Things, because some people just want Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. Some people do just want something that's kind of easy to sit through and enjoyable, and it wins you over with its charm, and then you turn it off. I think Holdovers will do it for you. I know people who absolutely love this movie. It's a 6 out of 10 for me, but it's a 10 out of 10 for a lot of other people. So check it out. I think even as someone who wanted more out of it, I can still recommend it. It's still good. Um, Let's take it away from the nominees for a second. Talk about some non-nominated movies. I want to talk about Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. Amazing performance from him. Gotten some great performances in the last few years from him. Most notably for me would be his performance in the movie Pig. He plays a very quiet and to himself character in that movie. But I feel like he still does a great performance. A lot of it's just through the expression. A lot of it's just seeing this broken man really portray it through the pain. Just the pain in his face. I loved that movie. I loved the performance from Nicolas Cage. I think his performance in Dream Scenario is better than that, though. He just plays this really awkward college professor, and he was hilarious in it. Where essentially the plot of the movie is he starts showing up in everybody's dreams, and he doesn't know why, and nobody else knows why, and he kind of becomes a celebrity overnight because of this. But as the movie goes on, he goes from doing nothing in their dreams, just kind of being present, to doing horribly violent and horrific things in the dreams, up to the point where everybody's afraid of him, and he essentially gets canceled for things that he didn't actually do in real life. And I think it creates this scenario in the movie that is very funny, very frustrating, but also something you could have a conversation about. Because there's characters in his family, there's people in his family that are telling him, well, you kind of got to understand why people are reacting this way. And if I was in his shoes, I can't imagine something making me more furious than that. The entire world hates me for something I didn't do, and my own fucking kids are telling me that I just need to accept that. That like you are hated for existing, and accept that. That's horrible. That's a horrible thought. It's a horrible thought that people actually deal with, though, for sure. And on top of that, I think that there's like this gray area in the movie that like does it's such a good idea to include it, where he did something kind of bad the night before it happened. It's not something that's pure evil. It's not something that he deserves to like have his life ruined over, but it's something kind of bad that he shouldn't have done. Um, and this all starts immediately after he did that, and he won't just fess up to it. And it's kind of like, because if he fesses up to it, something bad might happen to him as a result, which is understandable. It's understandably concerned about that. But you could also you could potentially put an end to everyone else's suffering, and potentially even your own suffering, if you would just do it. Because it kind of feels like the reason he isn't is because he's afraid it's going to destroy his marriage, but he ends up destroying his marriage either way. But the thing is, we don't know that for sure. We don't know if the movie doesn't tell you. We don't know for sure if he would have confessed to it, or if he would have been honest about it, that the dreams would have stopped, if the world would have seen him in a better light, if he would have stopped attacking people in their like nightmares. Um, so, and they don't know that he did anything wrong. They don't know that there's any reason for this to be happening. So it's kind of just you're left with a really frustrating movie. I mean, really frustrating, but it's also brilliant. Like it's very rare that a movie can make me experience anger as a positive thing, because like movies, like negative emotions in movies is always going to be a thing. Like they'll make you sad, they'll make you scared. You know, like those are great emotions to feel while watching a movie. Anger normally means the movie is doing something you don't like. There are other instances of movies that made me angry where I really like them. A lot of them are documentaries. But this is like just very effectively pissing you off throughout the experience. But in a good way, in a way that it's supposed to. And on top of that, that's not the only emotion you're getting out of this. It is really funny on top of it. It's a really good comedy with great performances. I've heard other people comment on this too. Michael Cera's kind of stand out in this movie just because he's playing a character that isn't Michael Cera. And you know what? I like Michael Cera playing Michael Cera. I love his awkward acting. I think he's hilarious even when he is just doing Michael Cera. But I like to see actors have range too, and I like seeing actors do different things, so this was very refreshing to see from him. Not a major character in the movie, but he's got a couple of good scenes. And he's funny in this movie too, and he's funny without doing the awkward Michael Cera bit, so props to him for that. Um, yeah, all in all, I think this one was a great movie. I might raise the score after a rewatch. For now, it's going to be an 8 out of 10. I would recommend watching it. It's a really solid one. It's another really creative idea that I haven't seen done before. Like that's what I'm loving with like both Poor Things and this Dream Scenario is just very original. Love seeing original stories. Love seeing, and it's okay if you have to kind of it's hard to do an original story. So many stories have been told where you could even argue that, like, I'm calling these two stories original. They're just original to me. I haven't seen them done anywhere else. It's very likely that someone took these like concepts and did something with them before. But I haven't seen anything like it yet. So I love them both. But you know, they're good outside of that too. It's not just, like I said, there's remakes of movies that are like masterpieces, you know. So I think that's good for now. That's 3 more to cross off the list. I got some more. Trying to watch as many of the Best Picture nominees as possible. Not looking forward to Maestro. It looks boring as shit. And that's what everybody says about Maestro. The nicest review I heard of it so far was from my friend Zach, who gave it, like, he said a 4 or a 5, maybe a 3. And he was the nicest one. So I'm really excited to start watching Maestro before the fucking Oscars. Jesus Christ. Have a good one, everybody.